Canada have found yet another way to censor you. Just when you think Trudeau can't get any more Orwellian, he finds a new way to censor the future, to use the past to criminalise you, to make the mind of Philip K. Dick seem not like sci-fi dystopic future visions, just a blueprint for a better Canada. What is Trudeau trying to prove over there? And what is he trying to control? Let's have a look at how the legacy media report on this story in Canada before we break down how these hate laws and apparent child protection laws will actually be used. First of all, we'll start with some propaganda from the Canadian state. Here we go.
The Liberal government has taken a second go at tackling harmful online content. The new legislation tabled just this afternoon seeks to better protect both children and adults on the internet.
You've got to protect children and adults on the internet. You're an adult or you're a child. You could be either. You're on the internet. You are at risk. You could see a word like, for example, God knows what that would do to you. I mean, as a child, Lord alone knows. Is it not beginning to become clear that what they do is reverse engineer the circumstances under which anyone would become compliant to further authoritarianism? An example being, well, free speech, that's a principle we all believe in. Yeah, but you don't agree with free speech, do you, if it was about abusing children and exploiting children or hateful racist rhetoric? I suppose no, I don't. Good. That means then that we will have to look at all information everywhere all of the time and control whatever information we want to control and censor whatever we want to censor.
Proposes establishing a digital safety commission, a 5-person panel tasked with enforcing new rules around harmful content.
A 5-person panel. Who's this panel? How's it going to be funded? What are their intentions? How will it be deployed?
As well as a new digital safety ombudsperson.
I am the new digital safety ombudsperson. We're like Oompa Loompas in a way. We come from a crazy far off land and we like to censor you. The
ombudsman's coming to get you.
The bill also seeks to amend the criminal code to crack down harder on hate crimes.
We gotta crack down on the hate crimes, baby. Let's see what Elon Musk is saying. Remember that it's important that platforms like this one, Rumble, under the stewardship of Chris Pavlovsky, and X under Musk, are willing to take a stand against this increasing censorship, against demands for surveillance, which will become increasingly risky. He says, this sounds insane if accurate, in response to Camus. The Trudeau regime has introduced an Orwellian new law called the Online Harms Bill, C-63, which will give police the power to retroactively search the internet for hate speech violations and arrest offenders, even if the offence occurred before the law existed. That is pretty astonishing. Let's get into the details of this bill as relayed through a British media organisation. The C-63 legislation authorises house arrest and electronic tagging for a person considered likely to commit a future crime. When you see our conversation with Dave Martin, he talks about how the pandemic was an opportunity to legitimise and normalise the house arrest of your opponents and dissidents. Note how often dissenters are smeared. Notice how often dissidents are shut down. Notice the increasing encroachment of state authority and the normalization of incarceration outside of penal institutions. We're going to have to lock you in your homes because it's too hot, too cold, too much cough, danger cough, too much trucker. I saw a Houthi. He was about yay high. That son of a bitch, get in your homes. A Houthi. When you were a boy on Facebook, you said the word. You better get in your house, you wording son of a bitch, you. You're no better than a trucker. I'll freeze your bank account so hard. I'll tag your anklet so good. I will Trudeau you till you wish you was in Cuba, baby. If a judge believes there are reasonable grounds to fear a future hate crime, look at how vague their language is. Reasonable grounds to fear a future hate crime. Do you ever experience fear? I'm going to level you. I experience fear because I've now, as a result of some of the work we do actually, experienced the astonishing and devastating power of the state, in particular when they work with corporations, in particular when they work with NGOs and peculiar, shady online surveillance firms, often funded by the government and big pharma, that observe your online content, that compile your data, that find ways to shadow ban you using AI. I know fear. Fear reasonable grounds to fear a future hate crime is not a basis for legislation. This is the legitimization of further centralized authority. Whether you are a conservative, a libertarian, a person of the right, a Muslim, a Jew, a Christian, an atheist, a transsexual, bisexual, non-binary person, I can't tell you how irrelevant all of that stuff is. What is relevant is there is an extraordinary force accruing that I believe to be I don't like to even describe it in rational terms, although you can understand it in rational terms. Legitimizing further authority at every single opportunity, always with the claim that they are protecting you. Protecting us from what? You need protection from them more than anything else in this world. Is that becoming clear to you? Now, let me know in the chat if you fear anything more than these apparently liberal, extremely suave, lovely hair, lovely little face when they get the boot polish off it, politicians like Trudeau that claim to be protecting you, but seem to be protecting you by putting an ankle bracelet on you and shutting you in your house. The as yet innocent party can be sentenced to house arrest, complete with electronic tagging, mandatory drug testing and communication bans. Failure to cooperate nets you an additional year in jail. Do you see? They're creating pathways for condemnation, pathways for criminalization. Do you see how organizations, often government funded, that were deployed to fight the war against terror, to fight insurgents in Iraq, because that war went so bloody well, turning the Middle East into what I heard one pundit call the Harvard of terrorism. Organizations that had to be set up to countenance that terror are now domestically deployed. You don't need me to tell you that. Edward Snowden told you that. You don't need me to tell you that. Julian Assange told you that. And that's why to this day, they're celebrated as great heroes of Australia and of America. When is it Edward Snowden Day? Is that in a couple of days now? Oh no, he's in exile in Russia, and Julian Assange is still in prison without trial, awaiting extradition to America, where they've just about, fingers crossed, no comeback, said they won't execute the guy under an espionage law that's been used more by Barack Obama than anybody else, and successive presidents, whichever one you choose, that president didn't choose to pardon Julian Assange. We're very happy to bring you our content in conjunction with our wonderful commercial partners. We make good stories out of bad news, but it's difficult not to let all these headlines swirl around your ever-awakening mind at bedtime. Millions of us face sleeplessness. It's an epidemic. It's silently harming our health and well-being. TWC Restful Sleep Formula, crafted by awake doctors, although they can sleep when they need to, like Dr. Peter McCulloch and his chief medical board at the Wellness Company, is the product we want to talk to you about right now. It's an all-natural alternative to melatonin. Did you not know that melatonin disrupts your hormones? This is packed with ashwagandha, delicious, kava, chamomile, and my favorite, passion flower. This powerful capsule has everything you need for deep, rejuvenating sleep. Purchasing supplements separately costs like $120. It's ridiculous. But Restful Sleep Formula offers a 56% saving. Don't just dream of better sleep. Make it a reality. Achieve your deepest, most restful sleep naturally. Visit twc.health/brand. Use the code BRAND. Get you $30 off at checkout. Plus, they all know our adverts work. Everyone's a winner. Let's get back to the content. Sleep well tonight. What is a hate crime? Yeah, what is a hate crime though? Whatever a bloody Justin Trudeau says it is. According to the bill, it's a communication expressing detestation or vilification, but clarified the government, this is not the same as disdain or dislike or speech that discredits, humiliates, hurts or offends. Unfortunately, the government didn't think to include a graduated scheme setting out the relative acceptability of the words offend, hurt, humiliate, discredit, dislike, disdain, detest and vilify. Who wants a government creating some spectra of offensiveness, getting into etymology and semiotics and semantics, areas that I don't think they're qualified to be dabbling in, when every single law they pass is just a further legitimization of authority? If they can make you a criminal somehow, metastasizing the past, making claims about the future, then they will do it. Remember when we were saying, but what is a terrorist though? Oh, I don't know, check their hat, check their skin color. Well, now you're a terrorist. They don't call it a terrorist anymore. You're a future hate criminal. And if wearing a tiny hat ever becomes a crime, I'm in a serious amount of trouble. Under Bill C-63, you can be put away for life for a crime whose legal existence hangs on the distinction between dislike and detest. Now, I just want to say that that was more like a detesting than a disliking, so I'm afraid that's going to have to be good old life imprisonment for you. These are decisions getting made by, what's her name, Chrystia Freeland and Justin Trudeau, and people that you can't trust to run kindergartens, let alone countries. People that you can't trust to participate in piano side songs without making you want to vomit. You can't let these people run countries. When did that happen? Can't you tell by looking at them? Can't you feel it? When did we forget to understand, to discern, to determine heroes from villains? When did we start to allow these weak fools, these lunatics, these no-marks, these nearly people to be in positions of power over us? When did it happen? The legislation appears to apply retroactively, meaning you can be hauled up before the Human Rights Tribunal for any material you've left online, regardless of its posting date. Anonymous accusations and secret testimony are permitted. That's the kind of thing that they need. Anonymous accusations, secret testimony. This is how justice works now. The judiciary is a tool of authority. The media is a tool of the authority. When these two things come together, watch as surely as if it were two of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, because power is on the move. They are aware of the power that's accruing around open communication. They're aware of the power that accrues as taxonomies and categories melt away, as we no longer think in terms of left or right, as we individually and communally spiritually awaken. They have to prepare a counter-offensive, and their counter-offensive will be much stronger than any of the Ukrainian counter-offensives that you are funding against the nuclear superpower Russia that we're supposed to imagine will one day just go, okay, we give up. This Zelensky, he reminds me of Churchill, who was an ally of Russia, incidentally, during that war against evil, who, by the way, the Nazis literally get applauded in the Canadian Parliament. You saw that story, right? Don't forget. Use your eyes. Trust yourself. As the great American comedian Bill Hicks said, you are right. You are right. Not those people who are trying to tell you how to think. You're right. Don't forget. Stay awake.
You're right. You're right. Not those fuckers who want to tell you how to think. You're fucking right.
Secret testimony are permitted at the tribunal's discretion. Oh, thank God it's at the tribunal's discretion. Complaints are free to file, and an accuser, if successful, can hope to reap up to a $20,000 payout. They're rewarding people for anonymous accusations. This is amazing. With up to another $50,000 going to the government. It's a win-win situation. You take $20,000, we'll take $50,000, we'll freeze their bank accounts, and they're all going to prison. What does all this have to do with protecting children online? Yeah, difficult to see that, isn't it? And if there is one community, one social class, one group who seem to have a peculiar predication when it comes towards predation of children, it's these people, no? I mean, seems to be pretty high up on their list based on some of the information that we're acquiring. All the social media companies are going to be supervised by a brand new government body called the Digital Safety Commission. Just that perfect line between so boring you can barely hold it in your head, so vague it could do almost anything. The Digital Safety Commission can, without oversight, require companies to block access to any content, conduct investigations, hold secret hearings. Hitler would have loved this. I'm not saying that Canada's like Hitler, haven't got time to sort of remind you of the Nazis that they saluted, or the fact that Chrystia Freeland, who's the Home Secretary's grandfather, was literally in the Nazi party, or that bloody Justin Trudeau said, oh, I like the way China does things. I haven't got time to remind you of any of that. I just want to say, the idea that they can conduct investigations and hold secret hearings, that's power. That is power. Where did power go? When did big tech become so powerful? It's extraordinary. This is where power is now. They require companies to hand over specific content and give all data collected to third-party researchers accredited by the Commission. All data, any content, no oversight. Extraordinary. We have some familiarities with some of these organisations. We've been observing them. We've been studying them. They're extraordinary. The ostensible purpose of putting the Commission and not ordinary police in charge is so that it can act informally and quickly. Informally. Hi, listen, I know I'm not your real dad. Just want to have a bit of a chat about stuff you've been posting online ever since you was born. Now, this is not a formal process. Look at that. I've got my sleeves rolled up. I'm a bit like a pal. I'm a bit like a pal, really. You can trust me, can't you? You're under arrest and I don't need a warrant. Quickly, without a warrant, in situations where material victimising a child could spread quickly across the internet. What that means, in effect, is that the Digital Safety Commission is not accountable and does not have to justify its actions. Convenient. As the Canadian Civil Liberties Association says in its sharply worded critique of the bill, it endows government appointees with vast authority to interpret the law, make up new rules, enforce them, and then serve as judge, jury, and executioner. You don't think that they would ever, you don't imagine that maybe they wouldn't, you think that, oh God, no, they would never misuse that, would they? Yeah, I think maybe they would. Canada already has a law that criminalises conspiracy, right? You've got that law, so you don't need that. And another law criminalising threats. So we're not talking about someone who is planning murder or terrorism. Is paedophilia legal in Canada? Have you not got laws for that? You would assume that that's also something that there's legislation for. Then who are we talking about? People who read the wrong websites, people who didn't get vaccinated, people who criticise the government. Let me know which of these categories you fall into. It's Canada, baby. People who go to church and believe certain types of immorality will send you to hell. With the Online Harms Bill, as with the reckless invocation of the Emergencies Act and the debanking of protesters, they are making a mockery of the rule of law and the public order they are sworn to uphold. Absolutely staggering. Let's have a look at the glorious near pop star, that swaggering, suave beefcake of a man, the Prime Minister of Canada, who owes so much more, Justin Trudeau, everybody. Let's have a look at him.
Meta, Facebook, has made the decision.
This is great because what he's doing here is claiming to support journalists, but it's really weird. The way that he supports journalists gives them further power to censor. It's weird how this keeps happening.
That they shouldn't have to compensate hardworking journalists telling local news stories.
Who's that in the background? We've gathered together some mostly bald, hard-working journalists. Look at these poor bastards. That one over there has worked so hard buttoning up all those buttons, and he's not even getting rewarded by Meta. Well, we got to do something about it.
It is a decision by Meta that makes billions of dollars of profit all around the world, that they have no accountability to journalists that actually tell local stories.
You know, don't you want to hear some local stories? Yeah, I would like to hear some stories. I'd like to hear why you are legitimizing reaching back into the past, imagining the future like some giddy soothsayer, and using these extraordinary powers to potentially lock up, imprison, and impede political opponents, or even free speech itself.
Work hard to actually make sure people are properly informed.
I don't think you want people properly informed, Justin, otherwise they may become quite non-compliant.
And instead make money off of sharing of information without recognizing the role they must play in a strong, independent media that is enhancing our democracies.
Do you think for a moment this globalist lunatic believes in a strong independent media, the very kind of media that will report on the kind of corruption that's been occurring in Canada, whether it's its evocation of the Emergency Act, whether it's the extraordinary appearance of a Nazi in Parliament? I just can't let go of that one. The imprisoning of clergy people, the shutting down of protests, the freezing of bank accounts, and now a bill that claims that it's there to protect the children. It's always to protect the children. But would obviously legitimise the opposition to and ultimately censorship and shutting down of all political opposition, and all done with such a wonderful haircut. Just focus on their haircut. That's why he always likes to have a backing band made up of bald people.
This is a test moment.
It is a test moment, and countries are going to have to. It is a test moment. We are being tested. Do you feel like you're being tested? Are you starting to work out what the game is yet? I'm feeling tested, Justin.
Where countries are going to have to realize that either we stand up for journalism and the profession, faced with internet giants that refuse to actually participate in it, or we bow down to them and allow them to make billions more dollars.
Oh, they're going to make billions. We can't bow down to them. So who do you believe in? Justin Trudeau? Does Justin Trudeau seem true, though, to you, though? Or does Justin Trudeau seem like some sort of slick, immaculate, well-oiled, unctuous little blimp that operates on behalf of a globalist establishment, a WEF stooge who fawns over Zelensky and his khakis?
Hello, Vladimir.
And would censor you to within an inch of your life. Any of these utterances that are streaming streaming past in the chat or are underneath us right now, Trudeau will be all over that. You guys are getting braceleted right up the ankle. If Trudeau has his way, your free speech is their terrorism. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the chat.
Hey, this is exciting. We've got a great partner today. It's Rumble. But beyond Rumble, it's Rumble's latest venture. Let me ask you first, are you a Sleepy Joe type character with zero cognitive performance, struggling to muster focus and brain power for basic things like running the United States of America? You've got to stop drinking woke liberal coffee that hates you and your way of life and start your day by drinking Rumble's very own 1775 coffee. This is going to be the best tasting coffee you've ever had. Seriously good, ethically sourced from a family farm in the high altitude mountains of Bolivia. Not in the Bolivian lowlands run not by a family but by a single man still living with a pet. No! Instead of waking up and drinking your big corporation owned woke ideology coffee that's probably making you sick from the pesticides it's sprayed with, try Rumble's 1775 revolutionary coffee. Support freedom of speech. Build a parallel economy that actually values you and loves you. My favourite? It's dark, of course. I've always found the lure of the dark irresistible. I'm sorry, how can I stay mad at you? You're just going to have to wait over there for a little while. Level up your morning routine with a 1775 coffee. Sleep all night knowing your hard-earned dollary dues are going towards supporting freedom-loving creators like me on Rumble. Visit 1775coffee.com now, pick up your first bag, use the code BRAND to save 10% on your first order. Oh, come on. Why choose, you know?
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.